Well, greetings to each of you and welcome to the Shakedown, a podcast about corrections for corrections by corrections. I am your host, Aaron Dawson. Good to be with you for another episode of the Shakedown. As we get started in this new year, new season, we're on the third season of this podcast. And so tickled to be able to continue to be with you. But as we move into this new year, we want to take kind of a different approach to this podcast. And we really want to break it down on those things that we said at the beginning about corrections, for corrections, and by corrections. And so just FYI, heads up, you can expect to see some of these things as we move through this new year and this new season. We want to focus on some things about corrections, news that are going on in the corrections world, current events that are happening, case law that's being decided. As far as the for corrections side of it, we want to interview some folks that are dealing with some things that you deal with or dealing with topics that you deal with, providing tips for what you deal with on a daily basis. And then by corrections, we really want to get to hear from y'all. We want to hear stories about what's going on in your agencies. We want to give you the opportunity to ask some questions that are some things that maybe you're dealing with that you can't find help or advice or resources anywhere else. And so we really want to expand the scope of the topics that we deal with. And I'd ask you to really, it'd be a help to us if you go check us out on YouTube. Go to YouTube, search the Shakedown Podcast, and there you will have the episodes. Go listen to those episodes, like them, share them, subscribe. You would not believe how much of a help that is to us to get the word out. But today we want to spend some time talking about corrections, a case that has come out of the 11th Circuit that was decided in January this year. It was decided on January 5th. And then also a current event that we see in the news as it deals with corrections, both dealing with the topic of duty to protect. You may know, you may not know, but if you don't know, you're fixing to know that the 8th Amendment of the Constitution says that you and I as corrections officers, we have a duty to protect the inmate population that we're responsible for. And that duty to protect is protect them from other inmates. It's a duty to protect them from themselves. It also is a duty to protect them from other staff members. The bottom line, when they come into our facilities, we are responsible for their safety. That is our job. In the court's eyes, we are removing their freedom, rightfully so. They've been accused of a crime. They've been charged with a crime. And so it is our responsibility because they've been placed in our care, if you will, that we have to provide that safety and we have a duty to protect them. The case that was decided in the 11th Circuit, it's the case of Nelson versus Sellers. And what's going on in this case is you have two parties in this. Mr. Sellers, he is an officer within a facility. And then you have Mr. Nelson, who was an inmate or the founding part. And so you had a situation with Officer Sellers. He's an intake officer. He's working in the booking room. He's booking in an inmate, the last name of Hatchett. And in the process of booking in inmate Hatchett, this inmate tells him that he had in the past attacked and stabbed a white man after watching videos on TV of white police officers shooting black men. And so he tells this Officer Sellers, that, he has this tendency or he has this proclivity. And basically what he's saying is watch out, bud. You put me in a cell with a white man. You put me in a situation where I'm around a white man, and this is how I respond. Well, the officer apparently didn't take him seriously. And so, or he didn't pass on the information to the officers. And so in the process of, processing this man in, he put him in a booking cell with another inmate who was being processed by the last name of Nelson. And while these two inmates, Hatchet and Nelson, are in this cell, it ends up being that the inmate Hatchet, he ends up killing inmate Nelson, strangling and choking him to death. And so the family of that inmate, deceased, sued the agency and sued the officer specifically. And originally, the officer had been given qualified immunity, but then it was appealed and it made it to the 11th Circuit. And the 11th Circuit ruled that the officer Sellers did not qualify for qualified immunity, that he could be sued personally because he did not fulfill his duty to protect. And so when we look at it, we talk about our duty to protect. It's important to remember that it's not just the action takes place. We see the action, we respond to the action, and that is our duty to protect. It also involves information, intelligence, things that we may have noticed, things that we may have heard, things that the inmate or inmates may have told us. We have a duty to check that out and to treat that information as if it's true and viable information. Another news article that has come up recently, this news article was released in February, in the middle of February of this year. And it's in the news article. I'll be honest with you, when I read this, it kind of blew my mind. You had in a Department of Corrections facility in the state of Maryland, you had an officer who had used force against an inmate, and in the process of using force, the altercation, if you will, was caught on body cam. The body cam footage showed the altercation. Well, after the incident was over, and after the video footage was reviewed, it was decided that this video footage did not look good on behalf of the officer. And so the decision was made amongst supervisors and amongst the officers involved that they were going to try to hide this incident that took place. And so they got together and they decided that they would all get together and write their reports the same way, that would portray the officer as using justified force. And they made attempts to destroy or delete the video footage. Well, this was found out. And so these officers were then charged criminally for their acts. And you can see at a base level that duty to protect, that duty to not just protect one inmate from another or protecting the inmates from themselves, but to protect the inmate population from other officers. And when we see something or we're aware that something's about to happen, or an officer is about to violate an inmate's constitutional rights, it is our duty, it is our responsibility to protect the inmate from that officer, and also protect the officer, if at all possible, from doing something they shouldn't do. And so these officers are going to face criminal charges, whereas had they filed their reports honestly, had the video footage been turned in, sure, this officer that used force excessively, he probably could have or would have faced consequences because of that use of force. But now, because we agreed to lie on our reports, we agreed to try to destroy video footage. Now we're all being charged, or they are all being charged with this crime. And so, guys, when we think about our duty to protect, as I said before, it's imperative. It is important. It is crucial that not only do we need to protect inmates from other inmates. Yes, we need to step in when we do what we can to stop that. Not only do we need to protect inmates from themselves. You have inmates that are expressing suicidal ideation. Maybe they're demonstrating signs of severe depression or severe anxiety or whatever the case may be. We need to take note of that. We need to document that. We need to report that to whether it be medical or whoever needs to be notified, and make sure that that inmate is being seen after and is being evaluated. But we also need to protect and think about, it is our responsibility to protect inmates from other staff members. Step in, say something, get in between them, get that officer out of that situation, remove them, separate from that situation. It is our duty to protect. And I'll tell you from personal experience, there have been times where there have been guys that I worked with that, it's just one of those times. You had a rough shift, maybe you got stuff going on at home, and that inmate says something, or that inmate does something. And I mean, they just mash that button, and that officer just goes off. And you see that, and you get in there, you stop them, you remove them from the situation, get out of here. I'm going to handle this. And so you step in and stop that. And I had officers come back to me and say, hey, I was mad when you did it, but I appreciate you stepping in and keeping me from doing something dumb. And so if we are truly a team, if we're truly a corrections family, we owe that to each other to step in and say, hey, you're about to do something dumb, or you are doing something wrong. And so I'm going to protect you from that. So guys, just some quick reminder for you, something that we see coming down the proverbial pike as the saying goes, as it deals with case law and deals with the news. And so guys, I hope this has been informative to you. I hope this is something that you can think on, ruminate on, maybe share with fellow officers. You can check out these articles. You can check out the case law. And as I mentioned before, guys, get on YouTube, listen to the episodes, hit the like, hit subscribe, let people know, and hopefully as we all do this and work together, we can continue to make this podcast better and better. Well, that's all the time we've got for today. And so until the next time, stay sharp, stay safe, stay vigilant. Godspeed.